I think it's important that we talk about Ukraine and also talk about the America.
That's right.
Mirror,
that's right.
Right? Holding up the mirror to our faces. So AOC calls out the bias towards Ukrainian refugees. She acknowledged the contrasting attitudes to other refugees. Let's take a look at what she said.
The way the world treated Syrian refugees versus the way that the world is greeting Ukrainian refugees is a very stark contrast. And I think that the way that we are looking at immediate granting of TPS to Ukrainian refugees, which is what we need to be doing, as well as many others, is something that we really need to keep in mind. Because I do believe that, for example, the thousands of people who tried to seek legal refuge on our southern border, how Haitian refugees have been treated by the United States, not just in past administrations, but frankly this one, is not right. And we really need to make sure that when we talk about accepting refugees, that we are meaning it for everybody, no matter where you come from.
And this is an important point that she put out there. And we've talked about this even when it came to I believe it was refugees from Afghanistan. It was recently, and it was like the refugees from the Middle East that were having the issues, and they were coming down. And here's what America does in the moment when it's hot, like when it's spicy, when it's trending, when it's hashtagable, they act like they care. And and this is the thing that I want people to understand exactly what's going on in Ukraine. Racism just doesn't go away because there's a war. Sometimes it highlights it. And as we saw what was happening in Ukraine, not in that, and here in America, what happens is we see when it comes to refugees of a particular color, they're treated a different kind of way. When you go, however you want to look at it, but I'll say up, when you go up on that color wheel and it begins to get darker, the more the assistance, the help, the asylum for the refugees ends, the treatment of them becomes disrespectful. They're treated like animals. I think that everyone who is seeking asylum, especially from war, from areas where it's unlivable, I think that they should be granted that here, especially if we have systems in place for that. Right. But why do those same systems not work when the refugee looks like me? Why is it that they have to be treated with the worst treatment, starved, put into ice camps where they're sleeping in foil bags? COVID-19 is running rampant. People are getting sick and dying. They're having children in those ice camps being whipped. We saw what happened at the border in Texas with the Haitians. We've seen constantly what's been happening with Mexicans, how they're treated. We've seen what happened even, with Asian people who live here when Donald Trump put the rhetoric out that they brought the Chinese flu. We see what America does. Like I said, when we go up the list, the more, and the lighter you are, the better treatment, the greater treatment that you get, the more respect that you get. When you're black, when you are a black refugee, when you are a black immigrant, when you're a black migrant, when you're a black asylum seeker, your story will always be different. But in this particular time, we see how all of those chains, all of those barriers that Americans say they have to put in place. Remember, I talked about Title 43. Remember, I talked about how they said they cannot let more refugees or people here. This is what Biden signed after Trump also signed. They can't allow refugees in because of COVID-19. But we see how quickly in this particular moment, and granted the situation, but the same things that were happening in Haiti, they lost their president. There was a war going on in the streets, constant war. But for some reason, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I think that all people, right? When I say Black Lives Matter, I'm saying that all people should be included. Because we see naturally how a system can shift all of a sudden, right? We can see how everything that they had in place now works the way it was intended to work. And that's only for people who fit the description. White is right.
Girl, you said that.
You just gotta be quiet.
And that's all that, I think that it's not
Rebecca.
mutually exclusive to discuss the two, also while discussing racism that's happening in Ukraine as well.
Right.
But I think America needs to understand and to hold the mirror up to their face. What is the story? Is it this or is it that? Because when we're calling it out, when we're trying to say, why can't the Mexicans get assistance? Why can't Haitians get assistance? Why can't Africans get assistance?
Right.
When we call that out and we're speaking about it and we're yelling it, there's so many things that are being said. There's so many excuses from everybody, from both sides. But then in this particular situation, it's like, let them in. We got to let them in. We don't care. We don't care what the rules are. We don't care. Bring them in. Give them housing. Give them food. Let's figure this out for the people of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Let me just give one. I know our guest is ready, but let me just give this one little detail. That I heard that story, Rebecca, and that kind of pissed me off. I was on Juliana. I forgot. I was on a show with ACT.TV. I'm sorry, sis, I forgot your last name. But the group that is getting flown out, it gets even worse. Everything that you just said was 100% true. Amen. Plus, the folks who are getting flown out are the rich people. The people who have been left in Ukraine are the bartenders, the truck drivers, the sex workers, the malls, the disabled, and poor children. So I just want to juxtapose that, because the people who are getting this first-class treatment that you are absolutely right about never gave that to the people who about to take bullets on behalf of Ukraine.